Lads. Momchi. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sheffield United Way YouTube channel. We've just been handed a little bit of something exciting to get our teeth stuck into. We've been without a manager for many months now. Hal, how are you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm really excited now. We finally got some news that we've been waiting for. You can see how excited I am. It's like my hair's like gone up like it's an electric shock. And momchi is lads in Serbian.
Oh, you didn't have to tell them. They could have worked that out. I'm sure of it. It's really exciting because obviously SLAVISA. Oh God, I've been saying it all day, and this is the first time I've said it live, and I've said it wrong. SLAVISA ƴoKanovic. Everything we've heard about him is amazing. We're obviously going to get into the detail of it very soon. But I don't think I've seen one Sheffield United fan negative about this appointment, which doesn't happen a lot, does it, Hal, with us Yorkshiremen?
I think because we haven't gone the cheap route, definitely gone down well.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll just mention this one tiny little negative bit that's absolutely not going to affect this whatsoever. But јoKanovic is probably has the best CV. When was the last time we appointed someone with the best CV? Do you remember?
No, it's a good point.
Was it Nigel Adkins in League One?
Oh, and also I suppose Brian Robson had a getting out of the Championship CV as well.
He did. You're absolutely right. But yeah, like you said, we normally go for the cheaper options, and I think the printer's completely shown the fans that is 100% not what he's wanting to do. So shall we get into it, Hal?
Let's do it, mate.
Shall we chat? We've already done one of these videos already. We were talking about ॼoKanovic and Blessing. If you've watched it already, there might be a few bits in here that you've already seen or you've already heard of. But for those that haven't, this is going to be brand new. And we've also got lots of other things to talk about that we didn't talk about in that one. So I'm going to say goodbye to Hal, and I'm going to be all on my own. And we're going to talk about Serbian SLAVISA јoKanovic, 52 years old, has been appointed the new Sheffield United manager on a 3-year deal. And with that, he's going to be the first foreign Sheffield United manager ever, which is a bit weird to say. There's not many clubs out there, especially clubs that have been in the Premier League or towards the top of the Championship, that haven't had a foreign manager. It's a bit crazy. And we've completely gone from Chris Wilder, very kind of British-dominated side, to somebody who's obviously Serbian, foreign, brings in a few foreign players as well. So we're probably going to see quite a few foreign players in the Sheffield United team in the next, I'm hoping a few years. I'm hoping he's going to stay here for that long. But yeah, let's see what Hal has to say about it. What are you saying, Hal?
Well, Uruguayan Dani Bergara is often cited as the first Blades foreign manager, but he only took charge of our youth and reserve sides, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, 1978 to 83. So SLAVISA јoKanovic, or as my wife thought I said, Nick, when I rang her and told her about this, was 𝐍𝐸𝐿 jankovic. No, not him.
𝐍𝐸𝐿 jankovic.
SLAVISA ॼoKanovic, 𝐍𝐸𝐿 jankovic. I see what she was doing. But as a player, represented, as they were then known, Yugoslavia, winning 64 caps, scoring 10 goals. He played at the France 98 World Cup and Euro 2000 in Netherlands and Belgium. That one was held. He did experience life in England, 2 years, you might remember, at Chelsea. He was a defensive midfielder who also represented, amongst others, Partizan Belgrade, Real Oviedo, Tenerife, and Deportivo La Coruña, where he was La Liga champion in 1999-2000. As a manager, that journey started in 2007, winning 2 consecutive doubles with Partizan in 2 years, which is really impressive. He's actually still highly regarded there. He then achieved success in his new post which of course was then, this is the hard one for Nick that you would say when you were doing the 𝐿𝐸𝐼 side of things in our previous video. The Thai Premier League team, Muang Thong, I think we're going to go with Muang Thong United.
That's exactly what I said, and I'm like, I hope I haven't butchered this.
Yeah, that was 2012, the Thai Premier League title with them. In mid-July 2013, 𝐸𝐼 became manager of Bulgarian team Levski Sofia. He only lasted until October, and that's a bit odd. They decided not to keep hold of him, but he won 6 in 12, only losing 2, which is not a terrible record at all. 5th of May 2014, he went to Spain's Hercules CF. He only managed 1 win in 5 matches in charge, and his first relegation. Now, of course, 5 matches in charge, not really his relegation. He was taking over a sinking ship. But that deal was always only till the end of the season. And then, Nick, to England.
Yeah, really, really crazy going from relegation to promotion the very next season, because he took charge of Watford on the 7th of October 2014. It was initially only a short-term contract, though. But it was weird because he was their 4th manager in 5 weeks. What? How does that happen?
Absolutely crazy stat.
Really, really crazy. And something similar happened to him at Fulham, but we'll get onto that in a moment. So, yeah, he only spent a short time with the Hornets, but he got on promoted in the very first season with 1 match to spare. So it was obviously quite good, quite good. But to be fair, like, it was so unbelievable that season. So he was with Watford until June 2015, and after failing to agree terms on a new deal, he left with a record of played 36, won 21, drew 5, and lost 10. A win percentage, Hal, of 58.33%. That is crazy numbers. But what I read up earlier was that 𝐸𝐼 said that he just felt like they didn't want him. And it's a bit weird for a manager who's won promotion in their first season after there being 3 managers before him in the same season, because that unsettles players, doesn't it? When you've got 3 managers, all with different ideas. Now, I'm not saying that they were there for a long time, but that unsettles a team. And to get them promoted in that very first season is incredible. But what I heard was the reason why they wanted, I've forgotten his name, but Flores, wasn't it? The Watford manager the season after, was because, pardon?
𝐸𝐼 was his first name, wasn't it?
𝐸𝐼, there you go. We're going to go with that, mate. We're going to go with that because there's a couple of Floreses. 𝐸𝐼 Flores, he came in because he was a defensive-minded coach. So they brought him in because they were a little bit nervous, because 𝐸𝐼 is very expansive when it comes to his football style. So I think they expected 𝐸𝐼 to come to carry on and them to get spanked a little bit. So they wanted to bring in a manager who could steady the ship, which is still crazy to me because of how good he was for Watford in that season. But I'll let you pick up from there, Hal.
Quique Sanchez Flores, thank you very much, Joachim, for correcting us on that. So then came Maccabi Tel Aviv in Israel for another short tenure, and that, Nick, might be a theme of what we're about to talk about, as he led the club to the group stages, and we'll settle for this, of the UEFA Champions League for the first time in 11 years there. Fulham, that's where, of course, a lot of people know about him. That followed on the 27th of December 2015. Again, not as a manager, but as a head coach. This was his longest job as the main man to date. He was at Craven Cottage until the 15th of November 2018. And in that time, he took over with Fulham in relegation trouble, but he steadied the ship and he finished on 51 points, which is obviously nowhere near relegation. That's actually 11 points clear of the drop. Next season, they became the Fulham that were great to watch, kind of the neutrals side. And they lost in the playoffs to Reading over 2 legs. They were very unfortunate in that. And it was May the 26th, 2018, when he wrote his name into Fulham folklore by getting his side promoted at Wembley, winning the playoff final against Aston Villa. That was a fairly memorable final as well. He couldn't quite get things clicking despite the board, and it is, we need to stress here, the board spending the cash in the Premier League. And after a long winless run, he was replaced by Claudio Ranieri. In total, though, with Fulham, he won 64 games and 154 played.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Like the win percentage was still really high to say that they'd lost quite a few games in the Premier League as well. And I think we all remember that fateful night at Bramall Lane when we lost, what was it, 15-14 against Fulham?
5-4, and one of the scorers was Samir Carruthers, who's now playing at Hemel Hempstead, and he's 28.
28. Oh, I should be doing better than that. What a player. What a player. But we're not talking about Samir Carruthers, are we?
No, we've got a separate Samir video coming soon.
No, definitely not. But we did mention him on the Twitter account, didn't we? Very well, the other day.
Check it out.
Anyway, we'll move on from Fulham because, believe it or not, he's actually managed another team since Fulham. But you wouldn't know it because it's in Qatar. None of us follow the Qatari league, do we, Hal?
The Qatari Stars League? What are you talking about? It's all No, I don't.
No, that's fair enough. So forgive me if I'm reading quite a bit of this, but we'll move on to talk about Gharafa. So since leaving Fulham, he's been in Qatar with Gharafa playing largely a 4-2-3-1 formation. And he was also nominated for Best Coach of the 2019-20 season. Already, it's not quite adding up, is it? 4-2-3-1 in the Sheffield United team. Not sure how that's going to work, but we'll get on to that. Honestly, his record in Qatar was very mixed because they've played 54, they won 25, drawing 10 and losing 19. So winning 25 and losing 19, it's not massively positive. It's still obviously in the positive category. But it's not what you'd expect from his career up to this date because he's winning promotions here, there, and everywhere in the Championship, which is one of the best leagues in the world. I would say the Championship is better than some top divisions. And playing managing Gharafa in the, as Hal said, the Qatar Stars League. It's just crazy. But he's leaving Gharafa fourth in the Qatar Stars League. So, as you see, you probably expect him to win that division. But anyway, we'll move on. He was under contract in Qatar. So, obviously, the Prince had to do a deal to get him out of that contract. Just a reminder, he was signed a 3-year contract with Sheffield United. Worth noting that he will have 3 years parachute payment to play with. Whew. So, Hal, we obviously know that he's going to have to bring some players in, get rid of some players if he wants to play 4 at the back, because we're not a team that kind of plays 4 at the back, and we really struggle to create goals, and we definitely don't have any wingers.
That's very true. I mean, he's been quoted as saying, and I like this, "I'm honoured to become the manager of this historic football club. I'm just excited to work in English football again, and I'm looking forward to getting started with the players and staff, as well as meeting our passionate, yes, loyal supporters as we prepare for the challenge in the Championship. I want to assure our amazing fans that we're fully committed to helping the team achieve its goals and to make you feel proud." I like that. A lot of boxes ticked there, Slav. You just keep talking like that. We're going to get on fine, sir.
He's absolutely laying it on thick with the fans, isn't he? And I love it.
You got to do that.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. It's great. He's saying all the right things anyway, isn't he? Everything he's saying is absolutely bang on. Anyway, Hal, we've touched on it a little bit, but what style of football has he played in the past?
Well, I'll push my glasses back. I've been doing my research all day, Nick. He likes to play possession football, and he advocates width. Now, at Watford, he played a mixture, and this is where it gets interesting, of a 4-3-1-2, which he played in Qatar, and a 3-5-2. Ding, ding, ding. So a lot of people saying he only kind of plays 4-3-3. He's played the 3-5-2. He likes a creative attacking midfielder to run in behind the front two. The Duffy role. You know, he kind of created the Duffy role.
He did. Before Duffy.
Before Duffy. But
it was the pick a player.
At Watford. Well, yeah, I mean, it's too many really to mention.
Vydra.
Yeah. But perhaps this, Nick, is where the Didsey role could be reworked in the Championship, because Duffy played there under Wilder when we slightly were more attack-minded. Maybe, do you think Didsey could feature?
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that Didsey has been so good this season, you can't look past him. Like, he's definitely not past it. Like we've seen, he's going to be going down a division, and he's going to be a few months older, but that doesn't change. Like, he's going to be a big player for us next season. I'm sure of it. And I think that if JOKANOVIC is looking at these creative players, Didsey's got to be in there.
Yeah, as you were saying all that, I'm starting to think Mateo Vydra never played for JOKANOVIC. But if JOKANOVIC is
he
prepared,
definitely might have.
If JOKANOVIC is prepared to play an older, slower player in that position, as previously he has liked quicker, younger attacking midfielders / support strikers. I was thinking more of his Fulham time because, of course, Tom Cairney really came alive in that role. Another thing, Nick, and I think this might suit a few of our players. Tell me the names that come into your head when I say this. SLAVISA JOKANOVIC is big on attacking fullbacks or wing-backs, so it depended on if he played the 4-3-1-2 fullbacks, 3-5-2 wing-backs. So who do you think that would suit? Attacking, bombing down, all about the press, not so much about the defending.
It's got to be Bogle, isn't it? Jayden Bogle, 100%. I'd like to see more of Norrington Davis as well, because I think a lot of people have forgotten about him. It's all about Lowe, it's all about Enda Stevens, it's all about Osborne. No one's remembering about Norrington Davis, so I'm excited to see him too.
I agree with that. I think this would actually, of our current crop that we've seen in red and white, Bogle and Osborne that you've just mentioned, maybe Lowe. If you can get Lowe playing, brilliant, because I don't want that to have been a poor transfer. Baldock knows how to get forward too. He's just not as attack naturally minded as Bogle, but he is a better defender. One thing to note from his teams, they do spread the goals around the team. That isn't something we really saw from our lot this season.
It certainly was last season, though, wasn't it?
It was last season, and it was previous seasons under Wilder. We did spread the goals around. I remember how many goals Kieran Freeman got, for example. So that's more exciting when you're seeing the team mix it about. And we didn't see that this season. And maybe we'll see them mix it about next season under JOKANOVIC. But at Fulham, SLAVISA JOKANOVIC played what most people think of him of playing as his kind of regular first choice formation, an attacking 4-3-3. Again, this was all about the attacking fullbacks. But it also relied on something we don't have, which you already mentioned, Nick. Fast, wide players.
Yeah, we do. We don't have any wide players. They're not that chubby, are they?
Well, quarantine. They put on 15. That's what they say. That's pounds, not stone. But fast wingers. It took time for things to click initially with Fulham in that 4-3-3. But when it did, it really was great on the eye. The wingers that he favoured, this is where it gets even more difficult, were two-footed. So if we're starting going in the shopping market looking for two-footed natural wingers, it does make it more difficult, doesn't it?
Just me.
It's you all over. Weren't you a centre-back who's now got one damaged Achilles?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay, right.
And but I was never fast.
I will say one thing, mate.
Yeah.
Watch this space. Ryan Sessegnon signing on loan. What do you think?
That would be very, very exciting. I already think that he's probably going to delve into the like Chris Wilder. Probably a lot of people are thinking that Chris Wilder's going to be the next job. He's going to be grabbing all these bulldogs, your Enda Stevenses. But
Stevenses doesn't work.
I know it doesn't. But yeah, I think a lot of people think Wilder's going to come in and kind of grab as many players as he can that he loves. I got a feeling that JOKANOVIC might go back to Fulham a little bit and might have a look at maybe a few Watford players they had in the past, because managers like to look at Neil Warnock. Managers like to have the players that they trust. And actually, Ollie Norwood was one of those that he trusted at Fulham. Yeah. So maybe that's somebody that we'll see a lot more of this season.
Well, let's talk about that. JOKANOVIC used a three-man midfield with a holding player, who you've just suggested, and two roaming midfielders. Now, this could work. Your holding player could be a deep-lying playmaker, Ollie Norwood, with, if he stays, Sander Berge and John Fleck, given kind of that license either side. Fulham did play a very high defensive line, which worked well in the Championship. Patient play was often the order of the day. it will be less intense football than under Chris Wilder. And certainly another name that was linked with us, less intense than Alexander Blessing, who we were rumoured with. I'm not sure, having heard all of this that I was reading earlier and listened to a few clips, I'm not sure where Billy Sharp fits into this style.
No. But the thing is with Billy Sharp, I think he probably expects these days that he's going to probably be on the bench more often than not. Billy Sharp is somebody that you would love to have coming off the bench in the last few minutes and trying to nick a goal. And I don't want to see him go, but
no.
I could see Billy Sharp getting moved on by somebody like JOKANOVIC that doesn't really understand that, one, he's the heartbeat of the club, and two, not thinking that, because he's not the quickest of players, is it? And like you said, he loves his quick players. He loves it like a Mitrovic. He loves his big, strong players as well. That one sole striker that's big, holds the ball up, scores the goals. Billy Sharp is stronger than you think.
He could maybe do that Mitrovic role. He could.
Possibly. And really, he wouldn't have, like, in a two-man strike force, you have to do a lot more. But as that one sole striker up top, not necessarily. It might just be able to be that fox in the box that kind of just gets on the end of things. But for me, it looks like it could be McBurney if we're going to go one striker up top with two wide players, because McBurney and Mitrovic, similar sort of players, aren't they?
I agree with that. Thank you to 𝐿𝐴𝐽𝐻𝐸, 20 Swedish krona. That is really kind of you. If you are watching now and you'd like to get us involved on the screen with the super chat, please do. It's always welcome. Helps with the running costs of the channel. So, Nick, I expect Slav to go back to Fulham, like you said, for some of his favourites who are out of favour. Dennis Odoi, Tom Kearney. Like you said, I think that could really work. And I think Kearney's a player that, I did this on Twitter not so long ago, players you always wanted Sheffield United to sign. He's one of them for me. And I will just say, for more information on styles and systems, check out a few good websites out there. There's a few good WordPress sites. I will just recommend one of them, which I thought was excellent as I was looking at it today, which is btlanalysis.wordpress.com. It's written by a Blade as well. Jack at Fulhamish blog and podcast has said one thing you Blade should be aware of, and it's against JOKANOVIC, is his stubbornness and refusal to change his style. So he said this is what Jack said at Fulhamish. He once tried to go toe-to-toe with Pep Guardiola's Manchester City away from home, and that didn't really work. Now, that's just one person's opinion, and obviously we're giving a variety of opinions here. The question will be, will JOKANOVIC have more of a say over signings than he did at Fulham, where Tony Khan signed the vast majority of players? Nick, for me, that remains to be seen. But the title of manager rather than head coach, that's what the Sheffield United website says, suggests he will. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it'll be a bit of both. I think the thing is with Wilder, he wanted it to be all his way, didn't he? And that's the reason why him and the Prince butted heads, I believe. So I think the thing is, the Prince obviously knows who he wants and knows what he wants out of a manager, and they will have had that chat. There's no way that JOKANOVIC would have kind of come into this role not knowing if he's going to be buying the players or if it's a bit of both. So they've both got to be on the same page for them to sign this contract. So I'm really excited. The thing is, the Prince has got to give JOKANOVIC license to pick the players who he wants, because if we are going to change his style of play, he's going to have to mold it his own way. He can't just say, I need a right-sided midfielder, because there's lots of different right-sided midfielders. So, yeah, it remains to be seen how. It really does. It's tough. It's a tough one for us to know, sat here right now. We've done all our research on JOKANOVIC, but you don't know. They might have spoken and they might say, we just don't know.
We just don't know.
They might have spoken, and he might have said, oh, I want to play three at the back. And it's like, oh, that's perfect then. So we just don't know.
We just don't know. So, Nick, do you think he was the best option we had available? And do you think, and this is a slightly controversial one, I am throwing you under the bus here, do you think he was Sheffield United's first choice?
No, I don't think he was Sheffield United's first choice. The reason why I say that is because for the majority of his career, he has played four at the back. And the fact that we don't have wingers and things like that I just feel that, that's a great shout. Sorry, I don't mean to jump in, but Marco, that is a great shout. Jefferson, he's such a Mitrovic. Maybe not as stocky and knocks people out.
Certainly not as strong, is he? We saw that against Burnley, that he was knocked off the ball a few times.
Yeah, definitely not. But no, you're right. Like, he probably wasn't the first choice. I think he's probably looked at managers that play wing backs or play three at the back, five at the back, whatever you want to call it. But what I think we should do, Hal, is get straight into hearing from other fans that have seen Jokanovic and supported a Jokanovic team. So we've got two. We've first of all got Mike, who is from the podcast from the Rookery End. Oh, I hope I haven't butchered that, Mike, because Mike, I've watched this video and he gives so many great points in this video. So watch it to the end, guys. To say that he was only manager for Watford for 3/4 of a season, he's got some great points. So shall we just get into that, Hal?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hello, my name's Mike from the Athletics Watford podcast from the Rookery End. I've just got a few thoughts, if you're interested to hear them, about the new Sheffield United manager, SLAVISA JOKANOVIC. Now, obviously, as a Watford supporter, nothing but fond memories of Slav. Until very recently, he was the last person to take Watford up into the Premier League, of course, and he presided over a really, really exciting season of football at Vicarage Road, and ultimately it ended in success, of course, with that promotion, and that, of course, does dictate how we remember him and how we remember his legacy. It was ultimately getting us from the Championship up into the Premier League. But I think one of the hallmarks about Slav's time at Watford was just how much fun it was. He managed to tie together quite a disparate bunch of players who had probably underperformed quite significantly the season before. And the football that we played under Slav was really, really quite exciting. Lots of goals at both ends. Certainly more of a focus on attack than defence sometimes, or that's how it felt. That might be being a little bit reductive and simplistic, but hey, I'm a football fan. That's what we're supposed to be as football fans, isn't it? But yeah, I remember the season really got going with a 5-0 win away at Fulham just after or before Christmas, I think it was, and goals seemed to be the phrase really attached to Watford under SLAVISA JOKANOVIC. So certainly an exciting brand of football we enjoyed in that promotion season. But one of the things that really impressed me with JOKANOVIC was his ability to change a game at any stage, really. And one game in particular sticks in the memory. It was actually the game we won promotion away at Brighton. Things really weren't going to plan, and he made a substitution very, very early in that game. My mind might be playing tricks on me. About 15-20 minutes in, I think it was. Hugely important game. And he changed it completely and changed the course of the game, and Watford went on to win away at Brighton, and that was the game that ultimately secured their promotion back to the Premier League. So that stuck with me a bit. His sort of tactical nous and his willingness to make a change at whatever stage in the game, I thought was always very impressive. And in thinking back at that season, Watford probably should have won the title. They didn't. They ended up in second place due to a last-minute equaliser. But what was hugely impressive from that Watford side during that run-in was, I don't know if you'll remember, but the top 5 or 6 during that run-in, it was incredibly tight for an incredibly long period of time. It was a really closely and tightly fought promotion race, and Watford really had to dig in to get promoted out of the division that year. You really had to win pretty much every week. So whilst, yes, Watford were quite flamboyant, and I mentioned a bit tongue-in-cheek that they weren't too bothered about defence, they also had to dig in and grind out some results. And basically, when SLAVISA JOKANOVIC's Watford needed to perform during that run-in, they did, whilst others around them faltered. And yeah, ultimately it ended in promotion, which of course is what Sheffield United will be looking to do at the first time of asking back in the Championship. So I think probably the biggest bit of credit I can give him, apart from the fun, apart from the sort of those little tactical changes he made, is the fact that when the chips were down, he got his side playing. He got them performing, and they would, and sometimes had to ground it out. Sometimes they were big blockbuster matches, and sometimes had to come from behind. But more often than not, under SLAVISA JOKANOVIC, they did it. There was a sticky patch early in his reign. I think they lost 4. It might have even been 5 games in a row, which for a team that ended up getting promotion and probably should have been champions, is quite surprising. But during that time, there was never any element, really. There was never any feeling that the players weren't digging in for him, despite a sort of a mini slump, if you like, a run of poor form. It's quite early in his tenure, but it did seem to me that the players were on board with him very, very early. And on the face of it, certainly, there was an incredibly good team ethic and team bond, which you have to give credit to the manager for. He didn't stay with Watford. Watford actually chose, they both took the option up of terminating his contract at the end of the season. And I think that was probably, they went for Quique Sanchez-Flores, a much more pragmatic coach. And I think that was down to the fact they were probably just petrified, quite frankly, of shipping too many goals in their first season back in the top flight. I think they wanted to make sure they were harder to beat, with more of a focus on a defensive thing. So I think it's more of a focus on that, more of a focus on perhaps the fears of the unknown of the Premier League, as opposed to anything that was the SLAVISA JOKANOVIC's sort of shortfall or downfall, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm rambling. Anyone that listens to the podcast will be used to that. But ultimately, as a Watford supporter, very, very fond memories of Slav. He did a terrific job for Watford. The team spirit was good, the football was good, and when the chips were down, the results were good as well. Best of luck to Slav. Best of luck to Sheffield United.
How exciting does that sound?
I like him.
He speaks really well. And I listened to that video earlier, and I was just trying to think of things to cut out because it was quite a long video. But everything he said, I just felt like everybody would want to hear.
I agree.
Yeah, it was incredible. Like just hearing how he talks about Slav just makes me feel so excited about the forthcoming season, because it just feels like we're going to go gung ho and attack. I'd rather see us win 5-4 than win 1-0.
Well, we know that can happen, and gung ho has never really been the Sheffield United way. Maybe it will be. And that's exciting to see. One thing I've noticed, Nick, is all former fans that have seen SLAVISA JOKANOVIC's work, they like him.
They do. And when we were doing that video about Blessing and JOKANOVIC, I was listening to podcasts and listening to videos of people talking about JOKANOVIC, and the Fulham fans were gutted that they'd lost him. And everybody just speaks fondly of him. And it's just great to hear. We want this. We want a manager that we love. We loved Chris Wilder. We want another one. We don't want somebody that we don't care for. And it seems like this is what we're going to get. Exciting. Shall we move on to Average Jack's video?
Yeah, Fulham fan Average Jack, hear what he's got to say.
Yeah, definitely. Let's do this.
Hey, it's Average Jack. You may have seen me previously on the channel from like the Sheffield United versus Fulham fixtures. Inga Nick asked me if I would mind giving my opinion on Sheffield United securing, well, JOKANOVIC as the new gaffer. So let me start off with the positives. For a start, you will never be bored of watching your team play football again. JOKANOVIC's brand of football is high possession, high pressure football. He typically runs a 4-3-3 with very wide attacking fullbacks and defenders sitting on the halfway line for what feels like most of the game. It's beautiful football, and you will enjoy every minute of it. This will be a huge change to what you've seen over the last season or so with Sheffield United. So it may take some time for players to adjust to this. But personally, I'm seething that you've managed to secure JOKANOVIC. I'm certain it's like a guaranteed 6 points against us next season, and almost certain that you guys are guaranteed promotion from it, as long as you give him the freedom to use the players that best suits his style of football. Now on to the few negatives I can think of. First is that he doesn't have a plan B. You've got one style of football, like it or lump it, and if it doesn't work, there's not a lot you can do about it. And secondly, when you do lose or draw games, it's going to feel a lot worse, because the majority of the possession and the chances will fall to you. And that feels horrible, losing a game you don't feel like you deserve to lose. I mean, I'm excited to be able to see JOKANOVIC's brand of football again, although I do wish it were for Fulham and not for Sheffield United. I look forward to seeing it, guys. Enjoy the season.
Excited.
It's interesting. He said the same sort of thing as Jack Collins from the Fulhamish pod about the no plan B. That's something you'd think he's probably going to have to do, because I reckon in the Championship you can maybe get away with that. But if the Blades do, well, I don't want to jump ahead, but if the Blades do get promotion back to the Premier League, that's where you're going to get found out. And that's obviously where JOKANOVIC has been found out in the past. He went on that 7-game winless run with Fulham. They then replaced him with Ranieri. And Nick, as we know, that didn't work either. Perhaps Fulham fans would rather that they'd stuck with JOKANOVIC because they'd probably either be still in the Premier League or, worst case scenario, be exactly where they are now.
Well, it's very similar to West Brom, isn't it? Getting rid of Bilic, bringing in Allardyce for half the season and being back to square one again. It's mad. It's mad. To be perfectly honest, there's a hell of a lot of positives, but there are one or two negatives. And like you've just touched on there, Hal, I feel like we've seen a lot from Chris Wilder. He was a great manager. But also, I feel like he didn't have much of a plan B. It was kind of overlapping centre-backs, overlapping full-backs. And if that didn't work, there wasn't a lot else, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And that's true. We went with the 3-5-2, kind of come what may, whether we had 3 defenders or 1 fully fit, you know. And I can see what you're saying there. So, yeah, it might be quite similar. And I've got a question for you, Nick. It's probably going to be where we wrap it up. But how do you feel overall about this appointment? And are you concerned about how JOKANOVIC doesn't seem to remain at a club for a very long time?
Yes, absolutely. I think if you just looked at it at face value and what he said to the fans up to now, it sounds like he's very excited to get going. Obviously, they're all going to say that. But he does seem like somebody that is kind of relishing having another go at the Championship, because I don't know if this is true, but straight away, as soon as we got linked with him, he said that he was interested. Like I say, it might not have been true, but if it was, that's brilliant. We want that. We want someone to get excited. We want someone to kind of play up to the crowd as well. I don't know. Hopefully he'll be at Bramall Lane for years to come. No one ever wants to see a manager come in and be like, oh, I only want to see him for a year or 2 years. We want to see him. We want him to be our manager for 10 years in the Premier League, or 9, because we've got to go up first. But what do you think, Hal? I'll throw it back to you.
I think it'll be interesting to see who he brings in as his coaching staff. Formerly, he had Javier Pereira as his assistant pretty much everywhere, but he is now a manager in his own right, currently working in China, and he knew him from his days in Spain. So it'd be interesting to see if he brings in someone new, and maybe that'll be difficult. He worked in Qatar without his right-hand man. You saw what Warnock was like without Blackwell. And, of course, we've mentioned how it didn't go terribly in Qatar for SLAVISA JOKANOVIC, but it didn't go as well as perhaps his previous CV had suggested. So maybe Javier Pereira is someone who's crucial to how JOKANOVIC does things. We've seen that with Clough and Taylor before. Sometimes you just need that right-hand man, like you know, the Nick Wiley to your Hal Stewart. And actually, maybe he's going to get him out of that job in China and he's going to become the assistant at Sheffield United. I don't know. Time will tell on that. We haven't got that information yet, but I do think the coaching staff appointments will be key, and who he keeps on from our current lot. And I think it's only right that we say thank you as well, before we close this video, to Paul Heckingbottom, Nick.
Absolutely. That's one of the first things that I was going to say as well in the video, and you beat me to it. You beat me to it in that 38 minutes.
You gave me a fair chance.
I did. Yeah, I put it out there on Twitter the other day as well. I think at the start, I was worried because we got hammered by Leicester, didn't we? And it just felt like all the players were down in the dumps. Billy Sharp was nearly in tears in an interview after that game. And he's really pulled it round. Like, I'm not saying that he's the greatest manager we've ever had. He's definitely got a really low win percentage because of what he was left with. But he's galvanised the team. We won 3 games. 4 games. 4 games in the end, wasn't it? I think.
3?
I can't remember now. 3. Okay, 3. I was thinking that the Burnley one was another one, but he's done quite well. Like he's been given a Chris Wilder squad that's not his, and he's managed to get something out of it. And we were playing really, really poorly until recently. Before that Everton game, we were playing shocking football. So he's galvanised them. He's got them scoring a goal or 2. He's got them doing quite. He's got Rammers playing out of his skin as well. And obviously not just that. He's brought through these youngsters as well, and we're seeing the fruits of that kind of labour that he's bringing. Gharafa Jebbo coming home
always
scoring.
have that memory. Who knows what Wilder would have done? Maybe he would have blooded Jebison. He blooded Hackford at Palace, and Hecky blooded Jebison against Palace. It's possible it would have happened anyway, but if not, we'll just say it never would have happened. Hecky blooded him, and we're so grateful for that. We're also grateful to Jack as well for £4.99. He says, Nick, the quality of this video at such short notice makes me proud to be a Blade. Well, thank you very much.
Oh, it's going to make me cry. To be honest,
if he knew the behind-the-scenes panic, I tell you.
But to be fair, he's right, because we have been at work all day, both of us, and we've done this in between working. So we've kind of put it all together, mostly Hal, but we've put it all together. We've worked together, and look what we've come out with, a 40-minute rambly video.
Yeah, and that's probably where we'll leave it. We will thank each and every one of you for joining us. Do tell other people to watch.
Sorry, mate. Can I ask you one more question before we go, and then you can do your outro bit?
Yes.
Because are you worried? We've talked about Billy Sharp earlier. Are you worried that we're going to lose some of the players that we've grown to love? I'm thinking Chris Basham. I'm thinking, well, Chris Basham.
I'm thinking Chris Basham, because Basham was there before Wilder took over, and usually these things go in cycles, don't they? And I do worry that we might see players that we've grown to love, the players that got us out of League One, the players the Championship. SLAVISA JOKANOVIC has no reason to have any attachment to a single one of them. So we could do, but I personally don't think we will. I actually don't think he's going to do a huge overhaul. I think he's going to bring in just probably 4 players, but I think all 4 that he brings in will be first teamers, and that'll mainly be dictated by if he decides to change formation, which I highly suspect he will not. I think that will have been part of the discussion going in, that it's 3-5-2 across the United World platform.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly that. But yeah, there's Bash, there's Flecky, there's a few of them that we don't really want to lose. But at the end of the day, there's no loyalty in football, is there?
No loyalty at all. And when I interviewed Chris Wilder, I asked him about loyalty, and he said that he does love some of these players, but there cannot be any loyalty in his position. And he said that to me when I interviewed him when we were in League One. And you saw how ruthless he was when we got to the Championship, and even how ruthless he was with Duffy when we got to the Premier League. Yeah,
there was a few that he didn't really mind just moving on. �𝐸𝐽𝐝 as well was another one. But yeah, that's another story. He obviously brought in Norwood to replace him because he thought he was the best option. But yeah, I'm so glad we've had this chat, Hal. I've really enjoyed it. I hope everybody else has out there as well. I'll let you do your little housekeeping at the end to sign off.
All I will say is End of Season Fans Forum is the 1st of June. That's most likely going to be the next live video unless something else huge breaks in the next few days. 7 p.m. Join us for that. Share your thoughts on what was a fairly forgettable season, but with some highs in it. We would love you to be a part of that. Do tell other people about this video. Give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe. We're on the mission to 13K.
Absolutely. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.